Good evening, guys. Welcome back to The What Life, the series where we are trying to figure out how I survive in Cat B races on Zwift. So we're racing this evening. It is a reasonably small group with 31 riders off the line. We're a few seconds away. We are doing Get Rolling, which is stage one of the Zwift Monthlies this week, this month. We have the Zwift Racing League starting next week. So this is a bit of a warm-up, I guess, or just another chance to dive into a race. I'm category B enforced. This race tore my legs off, but for slightly different reasons, and I'll go into it in a second. The only nice thing about it was that it had a very small lead-in. I knew that having 31 riders was always going to be a bit of a tough ride, because obviously the more riders there are, then the faster the group. I also knew that this was quite flat, so being 31 is a really, let me double back on that. 31 is a good amount of riders on a flat route, because it's going to keep the group together. Hopefully it won't split up too much. My main goal is to just try and not fall off the back of the group. I will add that training has been it's been going really well at the moment. I definitely feel like I am improving, but my legs are just absolutely exhausted. And not only that, I did find that one of the things I will like to talk about, or will talk about, is my heart rate. And it never really gets that high during this race, which I think is a massive indicator of fatigue. So I keep an eye on my heart rate. It only ends up, I think I max out at 163 on Zwift Power. I do manage to hold the group for much of the race, but not the entire space. You will see that obviously it strings out off the start line, and we do it was a hard and fast start, but it wasn't as hard and as fast as some of the other ones. We've been doing some of the Zwift monthly races with over 80, 90, 100 people. Those are just terribly fast starts. So this one kind of being a little bit flatter. There are 200 feet or 50 meters in total of elevation throughout the whole course. And at this point I was kind of wondering whether I was even going to be able to stay on the group from the very start. All I was doing was keeping an eye on the distance clock, just to count down as every mile or kilometer passed, just knowing that I was kind of still in the game, so to speak. The group looks like it does string out a little bit, but I kind of never really thought that. I thought if someone rides off the front, because it is 10k, which is a very short race, which means that there's going to be high watts per kgs, there's going to be high watt averages, because people are able to basically push a bit harder for a shorter period of time. So I thought maybe someone would just ride off the front and be able to hold it and just kind of do an absolute Matthew Van Der Poel and just go for it, but from the gun. But lo and behold, I think we kind of end up riding as a group, which is, from my point of view, a little bit better, and it kind of allows me to sit on the back. Now, my positioning in the group is entirely based on the fact that obviously I can't really ride on the front, so I always try and kind of sit mid or kind of at the back. And one of the things I hate doing is having to sit on the very rear wheel of the last person. And this is exactly why, because if I fall back even slightly, then it looks like I lose the group. Got a little bit lucky through here on the downhill, because as we kind of looks like the group breaks up, and I'm kind of like already thinking, oh, it's time to give up, and I smashed my power up already, which was a feather on the downhill, so I don't need anyone to tell me that was a bad idea. But I was just doing my best to try and stay with the group. But then these guys kind of come through, and when the group comes through, I was kind of using that as a bit of a chance to try and ride back onto the group, so I put a little bit of effort in. This is one of the points in the race where my heart rate does get a little bit higher, but ordinarily I should be able to get it up into 170s, and I've got a heart rate like, we've hit 178, 179 before, so to only get it to 163 when I honestly do feel like I was working hard towards the end of this race and I had given it enough time to get up, I think it's just a big indicator that we're tired. So I will dive into that now then. I've been kind of, one of the things I have been neglecting a little bit has been those zone 2 rides, the longer rides. And then the last 2 weeks I've been holding about 250 miles or 200 odd miles a week on the bike. So I'm really putting a bit more effort into the volume. Part and parcel of that is just because it's so nice in the UK. Anyone that's in the UK at the moment that's enjoying a little bit of nice weather, will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just so much nicer, which is encouraging me to get out on the bike. Obviously, I have kind of in the back of my mind the fact that winter is coming. As soon as autumn comes, it's not as easy to just grab your bike, whack on your bib shorts and a jersey and head out for a ride. It's a little bit more of a faff. So there is a bit of a climb coming up, and obviously quite a few of the group decide to use their feathers, and then that just like indicates to me that things are going to kind of hair up a little bit. I'm kind of questioning my own sanity and whether I can hold on to this and whether I should even be trying to do this as slowly as that. And we've done 2 miles, so every time a mile ticks past, I'm like, do you know what? I could tell people I only do 3 out of 6 miles. That's fine. Oh, and then I get to like 4 miles and be like, oh, I can tell people I did 4. So that was basically my thinking, was that every point in this race, I kind of really wanted to stop. I wanted to not be there. And I was actually massively thinking about it. And I will say, guys, if it wasn't for the fact that at least one person watches my YouTube channel when it comes to Zwift racing, I probably would have stopped. So this is a little kind of shout out to anyone that does or feel even slightly invested in my performance and hopefully me getting a little bit better. Let me throw some more stats at you. So I held 3.6 watts per kg for this race, which was 274 watts. And that was normalized over the rolling hills to 282. And I think basically I finish it in 1457, I think. Yeah, 1457. So 3.6 watts for that amount of time. I was actually, between you and me, hoping for a little bit higher. I will also add that I lose the group in the last mile, or just under a last mile, when they decide to really pick up the pace. So maybe there was part of that where I kind of let off the gas a little bit, and so my average wattage could have been a little bit higher. I do genuinely feel, guys, that it is coming together for me. I know that this is a bad race. This isn't a really good indicator. You know, if there was ever going to be a race where I could stay with a group, it would be one where there's 30 people, it's pretty flat, and it only lasts 10k. Like, that would be kind of like if someone said to me, can you just describe a race where you think you can ride with a Cat B group, I'd probably be like, yes, this one perfect. And it's not like this was a Thursday evening at 6 p.m. UK time, so this was a really good kind of opportunity to ride with the group, and I thought this would be a good one to kind of just get a little bit of confidence, I think, in the Cat Bs. Lo and behold, I do lose the group a little bit towards the end, but I do feel like, as I just go back to that, I feel like I am getting there, guys. I feel like I'm improving, even if you have a bad race. So I think a lot of people, when they watch or when they talk about Zwift racing, or when they talk about them bump up to the Cat Bs, talk about being demoralized and kind of how it is just a lot more hard work, so it kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it. Now, I actually kind of am trying to avoid that type of mindset. I'm trying to keep like all the positives about it, because obviously the aim here is to improve and to get to the point where I can ride in a group, or ride with the group comfortably. But I do also know that at this stage, for me to ride with the group comfortably, I'd probably be having to go into a race feeling quite refreshed and feeling pretty much kind of almost like a little mini taper for a Zwift race, which sounds ridiculous. And because it sounds ridiculous, in my respects, I probably do think of it as being a bit ridiculous. So I probably wouldn't taper for a Zwift race. It's something actually saying that I might do for the Zwift Racing League, because I am category enforced to the Bs, and now I'm also responsible for other people's performance. So I actually do want to do quite well. So we'll see how that goes. First race is Tuesday next week, which I'm looking forward to doing. So I will have to have a little bit of a time off to rest and let the legs recover. But quite genuinely, I feel like this race, part of me was tired. On the weekend, we did a really fast 100-miler. Then we followed that up with, or I've been following that up with a lot of miles out on the bike, kind of the last few days. So I definitely felt, and even before doing this race, I went out and did 50 odd K around my local lanes in the heat and put a few efforts in. So I am kind of trying to, at the moment, all I'm trying to do is develop a really better engine, and I'm going to keep working on developing more strength and endurance and speed as a cyclist. That's the plan. So if you keep an eye on the mini map here, you will see that this is the point where the group breaks up, and a few people had managed to save their power-ups. I did also know that at this point I was absolutely there was nothing left in my tank. I wasn't going to be able to hold the group, but I did my best nonetheless and put some work in, as you can probably hear, just to try and kind of stay on and hold maybe the last wheel. But then it kind of basically got to the point where I was like, you know what, this is way too much for me. I'm completely out. So this was probably the high point. There you go, 163 on the heart rate. That was probably the high point for my heart rate in the race, which is just, it's not high enough for me. I know I can do better. I've got a big history of being way higher, and this is my warning to you guys, just to say that if you obviously if you are racing or you are using Zwift and you're using your heart rate monitor, pay attention to your heart rate, because this is what I mean, is things like heart rate is a good indicator of where you are, like in terms of fitness, but also an indicator of where you are in terms of fatigue. And just being able to only get my heart rate to 163 after it's had close to 14 minutes of work, just means that I'm super tired. My legs are so tired that I couldn't put the power and the effort into getting them faster and working harder. So I'm taking a lot of positives away from this, and as I cross the finish line, we'll have a cheeky look at my power curve just very quickly. And look, I almost put a bit of a sprint in, small sprint for the finish as well on my own. So I'm pretty happy with it, guys. That's another Cat B race done for me. And I look at my power curve, and my power curve at the moment basically represents my FTP tests. This is like the main point of the power curve. You'll basically see that it's kind of shaped like an FTP test power curve, or how you would imagine. But then you will see that this race, I actually don't really get altogether that close to or any of my PRs and my power curves. So I'm really chalking this one down as like one that just really isn't kind of the best race for me, but at the same time I'm taking away the positives, which is doing this whilst I feel like I'm just absolutely knackered. Anyway, guys, I did really enjoy it, despite the fact that I got my legs torn off and just my ass handed to me. I'll see you guys for the Zwift Racing League next week.